Swiss rail manufacturer Stadler just told the Everest ransomware gang to go pound sand after they demanded 12.3 million in ransom. Yeah, good. It's the right answer, folks. But the details of how the attackers got in are actually what's worth paying attention to in this story because it's a pattern we keep seeing in industrial breaches. Here's what happened. Stadler builds trains, really, really big trains, and they supply rail operators across all of Europe and beyond. And the ransomware group Everest hit them, but not directly through Stadler's own network, but through a shared data exchange platform that Stadler ran with one of its suppliers. And that's really the soft underbelly of supply chains. It's the connective tissue between the manufacturer and its partners. And let's be honest, it's almost always less locked down than the corporate environment. And yeah, that's the scary part here. And that's really why I'm making this video because Stadler, well, they're carrying millions of people on their trains daily. And Stadler says that the attack didn't touch production systems or safety critical infrastructure. And that's the line that they're sticking with publicly. But Everest, on the other hand, they're claiming otherwise and they're threatening to leak that stolen data. Now, if you're not familiar with Everest, this is a crew that's been quite busy as of late. They've hit healthcare, government agencies, and now heavy manufacturing. Their playbook, really, really consistent here. It's find a third-party integration, exfiltrate what you can, and then extort with the leak site countdown. Now, what's really notable here is Stadler's refusal to pay because Swiss companies have historically been more than willing to quietly settle things under the table. Yeah, publicly saying no, that changes the whole calculation here. So, what do I expect to happen next? Well, I would expect the leak to drop. Yeah, Everest will most certainly dump whatever it grabbed, and then we'll find out what was actually in that shared platform. I'm thinking things like contracts, schematics, supplier data, employee information, all of that is fair game here. So, my message to all of you still paying attention, if you have a data exchange portal with a vendor or a customer, you really need to audit it this week, okay? See who has access, what's stored there, how it's segmented from your production network. That shared platform is your problem the moment it gets popped, no matter whose logo it is on that logon page. Moving on to our next story. CISA just widened the blast radius on an active Iranian threat campaign. And if you run anything with a PLC on it, you need to pay attention. The original advisory said Iran-linked crews were poking at Rockwell Automation and Allen Bradley controllers inside U.S. critical infrastructure. And the update, well, it could be Schneider Electric, Siemens, or quote-unquote potentially other branded or manufactured PLCs. So basically, we're talking every major vendor is in scope right now. So here's what's actually happening, okay? It's pretty simple, okay? First off, PLCs, well, they're the little industrial computers that run all sorts of things in industrial control systems. So pumps, valves, breakers, mixers, and they're at places like water plants, energy facilities, and manufacturing sites all over the world. And they're not, as I like to say, infosexy, but they're frankly what's actually keeping the physical world moving. Now, as it stands, Iranian affiliate actors have been scanning for these devices that are exposed to the internet. They're hitting them with just default credentials and then wreaking havoc on the network. And you got to understand, folks, as my daughters would say, this is pretty basic, okay? This isn't zero-day wizardry here. This is just the bad guy walking right in because some idiot left the industrial control system on the public internet with factory passwords still active, okay? And I should also mention, too, this isn't particularly new either. I covered a story almost exactly like this at the very start of the war between Israel and Hamas. So I'm bringing this up again because at the time the target was Israel and the companies were those who did business with Israel. Now it's the other way around. It's targets that are U.S. based and anyone who does business with U.S. All right. And we're also talking about critical infrastructure here, people. Okay. Stuff like water, energy. And let's be honest with ourselves. Okay. The geopolitical backdrop is really, really ugly right now, with the U.S. and Iran tensions really being higher than they've ever been in my lifetime. So, frankly put, the appetite for a disruptive incident on American soil is terrifyingly higher than it's ever been in years. So, with that said, I'd expect more sector specific guidance and probably some named incidents in the weeks and months to come as utilities kind of step up their forensics investigations. So, your takeaway here is if you own operational technology, you need to be doing at least these three things this week. One, get every PLC off the public internet. Two, rotate every default credential. And three, put multi-factor in front of any remote engineering access. It's shocking how many controllers I've seen that are easily accessible from the internet. Let's just hope that from now on they're going to get locked down. All right, moving on to our last story of the day. A few days ago, I covered Suno and their leaked source code drama showing that they were scraping YouTube and Deezer for training data. Well, now they've got a full-blown data breach on their hands, and Troy Hunt just loaded 55 million user records into Have I Been Pwned. So let's talk about what's actually in the dump. The bulk of it is email addresses, which, fine, that's the standard breach starter pack. I get it. But some of the accounts included phone numbers instead because the users signed up that way. And then there's the really interesting part, okay? There were tens of thousands of Stripe records with names, physical addresses, purchase amounts, and partial credit card data. We're talking card type, expiration date, and the last few digits, okay? It's not really enough to run a transaction on its own, but it's plenty to build a convincing phishing lure. So now, why does this matter beyond just another breach headline? Well, it's because it's Suno. And it's the fact that 55 million is a really big number for a company, especially one that's the poster child for AI hate in this industry right now. Suno is already getting sued by, the major labels for copyright infringement. And then they've got the source code leak showing their questionable scraping pipelines. And now you got a full-blown customer data leak on your hands. I mean, this is like 3 separate credibility dumpster fires all burning at the same time at the same company. Now, as for evidence, Have I Been Pwned already ingested the files and notified affected subscribers. So this isn't rumor, folks. It's confirmed and it's searchable right now. So what's going to happen next? Well, I'd expect regulators to start asking some pointed questions, especially in the EU where GDPR applies to any Suno user in scope. Oh, yeah, I'd also expect the plaintiff lawyers in the copyright cases to quietly add this to their pile of arguments about Suno's operational maturity. So, your takeaway. Okay, if you've ever signed up for Suno, even just to mess around with a prompt for a few minutes, okay, you need to go check out Have I Been Pwned right now. Rotate that password, and if you've reused it anywhere else, you might want to rotate it there too. All right, folks. Well, that about wraps up today's stories. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Andy Thompson signing off.